Friends, Namaskar, good afternoon, and welcome to this special briefing on Prime Minister's visit to Osaka, Japan for the 14th G20 Summit from 27 to 29 June. For our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, this will be the sixth time he will be participating at the G20 Summit. Apart from participating at the summit itself, Prime Minister will also have bilateral meetings. He will also participate at few plurilateral meetings, and we will announce those meetings closer to the date. I have the pleasure to welcome here on the dais Prime Minister Sherpa for the G20 Summit, Shri Suresh Prabhu. I also have Joint Secretary Multilateral Economic Relations in the Ministry of External Affairs, Shri Suresh Reddy. We will start with the initial remarks by the Sherpa, and after that we will take questions from the audience. Sir, over to you.
Good afternoon, friends. As you know, over a period of time, and particularly after the big economic shock of 2008, the G20s have become a very important global platform for dealing with, to begin with, economic issues, and now over a period of time, many other important global issues. And G20 being obviously consists of such members who together contribute to almost 85% of global GDP, economic issues assume great importance. And particularly in the light of so many interesting developments recently, in the light of fear about global slowdown, I'm sure one of the very important issues that will be discussed in the G20 Summit in Osaka later next week will be the economic issues. The economic issues have been already, some of the important aspect of it is the free trade and economic growth, because we already experienced that slower the global trade, it immediately impacts adversely the economic growth. And therefore, it's a challenge how to bring in more trade, and that too also removing all the hurdles that have been created over a period of time for easy flow of goods. And therefore, the global trade and the free trade and economic growth, which are inexplicably linked to each other, will be discussed obviously. Society 5.0 is a very important item for discussion, because we are already seeing that now globally societies are changing. How do you deal with that? And as I said, other issues get discussed, and one of them inevitably is linked to energy and environment. They are the two sides of the same coin. What kind of energy we are going to use, and India will be able to showcase its great remarkable strides into changing the energy mix, which in turn can also result into global change of energy mix. We already committed to have 100,000 megawatts of solar, 70,000 megawatts of wind, and India being, thanks to our Prime Minister's leadership, being the pioneer and the founder, the co-founder of International Solar Alliance. And International Solar Alliance, along with France, which was set up in Delhi, is going to result into huge use of solar energy globally, which in turn will bring down the prices for solar energy, because we have seen in case of mobile phones, when now there are almost 6 billion people using mobile phones, obviously the prices have crashed. So when solar energy will be used on that scale, it will be flash. So energy is an issue. If you change the energy mix, which will impact environment. If you use more solar energy, more renewable energy, less will be the greenhouse gas emission, which will be good for environment. So that's going to be one of the important issues. Global growth can also be improved by building more infrastructure. But building quality infrastructure, which will be also climate proof and will be created in such a way that all these global changes will be incorporated into that. So that quality infrastructure is going to be one of the important things, and India has been saying this from last 5 years, because even in 2014, when there was the Australia G20, we had put forward this view strongly that global growth can be positively impacted if you bring infrastructure globally, because infrastructure will create demand. And global health and aging, and rightly Japan being the presidency for this particular summit, aging is an important issue, not only for Japan, but for most of the developed countries. So aging and global health will be important issue. Climate change on standalone basis, which is energy environment aspect, but also will be discussed. Marine plastic waste. I think the oceans are a big sufferers and the victims of global use of plastics. Therefore, we have to discuss those. We will be very clearly discussing some important issues like energy security, financial stability, reform multilateralism, because we feel that there is only way forward is multilateralism, but that doesn't mean it should not be reformed. So multilateralism has to be a way of life, but has to be in a much better way. We strongly feel that WTO should be strengthened, and that should be the body through which global trade should be regulated. Return of fugitive economic offenders, including illegally acquired assets, is part of our Prime Minister's agenda of ensuring that all ill-gotten wealth, black money, and those who are responsible for it and therefore are economic offenders, and therefore they don't want to be facing the legal consequences of that, and therefore they want to flee from the country, how they can be brought to book. Terrorism, which is not just India's issue, but India is highlighting it, being a biggest sufferer of terrorism. We like to take it. Portable social security schemes, which Prime Minister has been very successfully launched, which were endorsed by the people in 2019 elections, and they therefore brought Prime Minister back with a much better majority. Disaster resilient infrastructure, which is part of quality infrastructure, but now with so many natural calamities taking place, how do you have a resilient infrastructure which will withstand all these disasters is a very important challenge. And we again played a very important role as India when President Obama was US President and President Hollande was the President of France. We had a Paris Agreement on climate change. We feel that that agreement should be taken forward, and also we feel that food security should be an important element, because despite the fact that world has witnessed huge exponential growth in food production, there are still hunger has not been banished fully. And therefore, how do you deal with that is an important issue. Therefore, with India's active participation and with India's active support, there are going to be 4 sessions in Summit: global economy, trade and investment, which brings in all the issues which I just mentioned; innovation in digital economy and artificial intelligence; addressing inequalities and realizing an inclusive, sustainable world; and obviously climate change, energy and environment, which can be clubbed into one. So Prime Minister will be there leading India's stand on all these issues. I'll be also going a little earlier as a Sherpa for G20 to prepare for many of these issues, and of course I'll be there with my other colleagues. So we look forward to a very positive outcome from this summit. And as I said, G20, though started as a very informal gathering, has now become almost like a regular annual summit meetings. And over a period of time, every presidency has added a new dimension to the issues that are discussed. And therefore now global, this has become very global important platform. So not just with 20 countries participate, but there are some other countries, like from Africa, there will be some countries participating. It's a prerogative of the presidency to invite any other country that they feel like. And this time also there will be more than 20 countries participating, but the grouping is of course G20. And therefore we really look forward to a very positive outcome from the G20 summit in Osaka later next week.
Just one sec. No, I'll just open the floor to questions. Sir, thank you very much. Now you can ask questions to the Minister. Yes.
I just wanted to know whether there will be a meeting of the finance minister of G20 countries this time as well as it used to be.
You know, there are 2 tracks. One is the finance track, one is the Sherpa track. But this time, now we are almost closer to the summit. So I don't think there is going to be any finance ministers meeting. Huh?
One already got over.
Oh, then I know, but now there is not going to be any more finance minister meeting before.
Thank you. Siddhant?
Sir, in every G20, Prime Minister has been giving pointers, 10 pointers or like 9 pointers on whether it's black money or terrorism. This time around also it's expected, and What will be the issue? I mean, we will be getting to know finally, but if you can tell us.
See, what Prime Minister will be speaking, only Prime Minister can tell you. And you will know about what Prime Minister has spoken once he speaks about it. But as I said, our highlight is very clear. We are very sure that we want to make sure that some of the issues of India's concerns, which not only concern India alone, but India is expressing this concern on behalf of the whole world. Terrorism, global economic stability, bringing in multilateralism in a reform form, ensuring that climate, energy, environment issues are properly dealt with. These are the kind of issues, building quality infrastructure globally. These are the kind of issues, and of course economic offenders and fugitives and others who are running away and trying to take shelter in some other country. So these are the issues which I think are relevant to all the countries of the world. So I can definitely say these are India's priorities. Of course, I'm sure you'll be very happy when you'll hear Prime Minister speaking, and then we'll report on it in a much better way.
Ji Vijay ji.
Mr. Prabhu, it is reported that India is opposed to this alliance, digital alliance between US, Japan and Australia. And secondly, it is said that we want to have the taxation for technical giants like Google and Facebook. And what are your views on these 2 points actually? Opposition to the alliance, digital alliance.
What was the first one?
No, is it linked to the G20?
It's linked to G20, I think.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Global alliance, that is alliance of US, Japan and Australia on the exchange of digital information. That is one thing which India is supposed to be opposed to that particular thing. And secondly, the finance minister is supposed to be, she wants to impose a tax on the tech giants like Facebook and Google. Anything would be discussed on these 2 matters?
See, actually, as you know, the G20 agenda is very clearly defined. There are clearly these 5 sessions or 4 sessions in which... Huh? This is, see, basically, if you take, say, Society 5.0, which is a very important issue, we can cover many of these issues. But specifically, the G20 4 sessions, which I just mentioned, are the ones which will deal with that. So, of course, every country has a right to express their views. But I don't think any this bilateral or plurilateral relationship that you mentioned will be figuring into discussion of this kind in the G20 Summit as such. We have, of course, many other forums in which we can react to them, we can take note of them, we can actually work with them. But on this G20 per se, these are the 4 major important sessions that we'll be focusing on.
Thank you.
प्रभु सर, में 3 पॉइंट्स हैं जिस पर आप कुछ बताना चाहें यदि तो। आपने बात करी है क्लाइमेट प्रूफ क्वालिटी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की, और ईस्टर्न कोस्टल इंडस्ट्रियल कॉरिडोर में जापान एक बड़ा पार्टनर है हमारा, जैसा नितिन गडकरी जी ने बताया था। तो क्या उसको लेकर इस बारे में जब G20 के लिए आप जाएंगे तो क्या इस पर बात होगी? दूसरा, टाइडल एनर्जी, ज्वारी ऊर्जा को लेकर बात हुई थी इससे पहले आपकी जो सरकार थी उसके समय, तो क्या उसे लेकर बात होगी इस दौरान, इस यात्रा के दौरान? और तीसरा मेरा था फूड सिक्योरिटी की आपने बात की। आपके लास्ट टाइम मतलब पिछली सरकार के समय जापानीज राइस को लेकर बात हुई थी, क्योंकि उसकी पर हेक्टेयर यील्ड बहुत ज़्यादा है। तो कहा था कि हम उसे यहाँ भी करेंगे, और उसकी कोशिश भी हुई थी। हरियाणा में एक एक्सपेरिमेंट बेसिस पर यह काम भी किया गया था। तो उसको लेकर आप कुछ करेंगे क्या? ये 3 पॉइंट्स, ईस्टर्न कोस्टल कॉरिडोर, टाइडल एनर्जी और फूड सिक्योरिटी, जापानी राइस। थैंक यू।
देखिए, ये तो आपने जो बात पूछी सही बात है कि जापान और इंडिया का जो रिश्ता है बहुत गहरा है। जापान ने बहुत कम देशों के साथ स्ट्रैटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की है। उसमें हमारा देश भी बहुत ही करीब के उनके साथ हमारे रिश्ते बने हुए हैं। ख़ास करके प्रधानमंत्री अबे और प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के बीच में एक बहुत ही निजी गहरा रिश्ता भी बहुत समय से बरकरार हुआ है। तो अभी मैं जानता हूँ कि ये जो हमारी समिट है, ये G20 होने के नाते ये बायलैटरल इश्यूज़ के ऊपर इसमें कोई इस तरह की चर्चा नहीं की जाएगी। लेकिन आपके जानकारी के लिए मैं कहना चाहता हूँ कि जापान ओवरसीज डेवलपमेंट असिस्टेंस देता है। उनके 0.06% ऑफ द GDP वो हर साल ओवरसीज डेवलपमेंट असिस्टेंस, दिस वाज द कमिटमेंट पूरे सबके जो G7 कंट्रीज OECD कंट्रीज ने कमिटमेंट दी थी, लेकिन जापान ने उसको करीबन पूरा भी किया है। सबसे ज़्यादा ओवरसीज डेवलपमेंट असिस्टेंस हमारे देश को मिला है, और इसीलिए आपको देखा होगा तो दिल्ली की जो मेट्रो बनी है उसी के कारण बनी है। हमारे बहुत सारे जो ईस्टर्न कॉरिडोर की बात चल की उसमें भी उनका काफ़ी रिश्ता है। वो फूड सिक्योरिटी के बारे में भी बातचीत चल रही है, जैसे कि अभी हमारे मरीन प्रोडक्ट्स हम यहाँ से काफ़ी बड़े मात्रा में निर्यात करते हैं, उसमें भी जापान को निर्यात करने की बहुत बड़ी संभावनाएं आज भी है, लेकिन इस समय इसके ऊपर बातचीत नहीं होगी। वैसे तो G20 समिट है, इसके लिए मल्टीलैटरल बॉडी है, 20 देश उसमें सम्मिलित रहेंगे, लेकिन जापान के साथ वैसे तो अलग अलग तरीके से हमारी बातचीत हमेशा चलती ही रहती है। कुछ समय पहले भी जापानीज एक बहुत बड़ा डेलीगेशन भी यहाँ पे आया था, मैं जब कॉमर्स मिनिस्टर था उनके साथ बातचीत भी की गई थी। तो मैं मानता हूँ ये बहुत ही जापान के साथ हमारा बातचीत चलेगी। और आपके जानकारी के लिए, जापान एक ऐसा एक देश है, जब क्रूड ऑयल काफ़ी बड़ी मात्रा में उसकी कीमत बढ़ गई थी और इसीलिए हमारे रुपये और डॉलर में थोड़ी सी जो कठिनाई आई थी, तो जापान ऐसा देश था, वो सामने आकर उन्होंने कहा कि आपको हम लाइन ऑफ क्रेडिट देते हैं, इसके लिए एक स्वैप अरेंजमेंट उन्होंने हमारे लिए बनाई थी। तो जापान इसके लिए एक बहुत ही अलग तरीके से, नॉट ओनली स्ट्रेटेजिक अरेंजमेंट, नॉट ओनली स्वैप अरेंजमेंट, ODA असिस्टेंस, एंड इन सो मेनी अदर एरियाज वी आर वर्किंग टुगेदर।
Sridhar.
Sir, there seems to be a furious trade war on between the major economies, and India and has also imposed tariffs on US products, and so this kind of a retaliation is going on, and even the trade ties between China and US have also worsened. So this issue of protectionism, which the External Affairs Minister recently said at Bishkek that globalization is under strain. So can you tell us something about India's concerns on this issue of protectionism, and how will it be discussed at the G20?
See, we are of a very informed opinion and very considered opinion that there should be no barriers that should be put on free flow of trade. For your information, when the world, we call it ministerial meeting in Buenos Aires, which took place in December 2017, which I had led as India's Commerce Minister. When it failed, I had announced there itself that we'll organize a mini ministerial in New Delhi to take the WTO agenda forward. We organized a meeting on 19th and 20th of March 2018, which was attended by 53 countries. And in April 2019, we had called another mini ministerial of about 23 countries, which was really mini ministerial because 53 countries is not mini, it was a maximum ministerial because there are mini ministerials normally of the 15, 20 countries. I'm just giving this example that we strongly believe that multilateralism has to prevail and there should not be any artificial out of WTO mandated sanctions should be put on any free flow of trade. That's our considered opinion and completely firm opinion. Prime Minister, when he went to Davos last year, he also had talked about open economy, open border, removing all hurdles. So we are completely committed to free and flow of trade. India has already opened to a great deal our trade, the possibilities of trade with India. India is one of the most open economies of the world today. We get almost without barriers FDI into several sectors. So now India is right to demand that India should also get a reciprocal treatment from other countries of the world. So while we opened the borders, we are not fully benefited from it. And it's a time when India's economy, which is now more than $2.8 trillion, it's poised to grow. We obviously need to work with others. And India is not only speaking for our own interest, but we are also speaking for so many other countries, 54 countries in Africa, other countries in Latin America, smaller countries in Asia, that open trade is the only way they can benefit. There are some countries in Africa, they export only one product. And just imagine, if there is some artificial sanction which is put on that border, on that product, then obviously the international trade is finished because they are exporting only one product. So how can you not therefore open trade for all countries of the world in an open manner. So that is what is our considered opinion. So we are fully against putting this artificial border. We believe in WTO. We feel that WTO is the only forum through which we should work. But that doesn't mean we are dogmatic of saying that WTO should remain what WTO has always been. There is a possibility of reform of WTO. That's why we had organized this mini-ministerial to decide about the agenda for reform. But this should be happening. As far as the trade wars are concerned, we are watching. I'll just tell you very interestingly, India had a trade deficit of $63 billion with China. And the trade deficit was constantly increasing year after year for the last few decades. First time in 2018-19, our trade deficit with China went down by $10 billion. This is absolutely unprecedented, that from $63 billion in 1 year, we could reduce by $10 billion to bring it down to $53 billion. And now we have prepared a strategy how to balance trade with China. It's no longer reducing trade deficit anymore, how to balance trade with China. So this is all possible. So when we talk about some trade wars, I really don't believe in war because I'm a man of peace, so I don't know what war is. But I am saying whatever may be the relationship between other countries, but we want to work with all the countries in the world, including our neighbor US, including our neighbor China, or our big trading partner US. So we want to work with both US as well as China. We want to work with all countries in the world to have trade with them. And we feel that the trade is the best form, and particularly for the developing countries, India is of course now in a much better shape economically, but smaller countries, developing countries, we say that not aid, but trade. And if you take the trade away and aid is already gone, how those small countries will survive? So therefore, we feel that open trade is the only way which can happen.
Thank you, sir. Arthur?
Good evening, sir. So, the fact that there will be bilaterals planned in Osaka, and in all likelihood there will be a...
Please, please.
Sorry, yeah, can I continue? Yeah, so in all likelihood there will be the big bilateral between India and the US. Given the kind of blow hot, blow cold signals we are getting on H-1B visas or many other issues regarding trade, what is the strategy going to be in the eventuality of the big Indo-US bilateral happening in Osaka?
See, the United States is India's one of the largest trading partners. And amongst many trading partners, US is the probably only one where we have a largest trade deficit. India's relationship with US, which is very comprehensive. So it's not just goods trade that we talk about, the merchandise trade where we have surplus. We have a huge services trade with United States. We have a huge relationship with US on defense-related matters. We have a large number of Indians, more than 3.2, 3.3 million people who are naturalized in US, but there are far more who are actually working with US, offering services to United States. United States is also beneficiary of this relationship. Large number of Indians have created quite a few 100,000 jobs in United States. We have evidence of that. So there are people who are working in United States have added value to US economy, because when President Clinton was the president, he had said once that US economy is growing thanks to productivity gains. Some of the productivity gains came from technology. And some contribution for that technology infusion into the US economy also has come from the Indians who work in the United States. So I think United States is a large trading partner for India, one of our countries where we have a trade surplus, but the country in which not only they are benefited, but they are also benefiting, we are also benefiting. I'll give an example. We talk about trade deficit, which when recently, when we had a secretary, Wilbur Ross was here, I was telling him, India, according to Boeing, only according to Boeing, it's not my estimation, need to buy 2,300 aircrafts in the next few years to support our growing aviation sector. Now, some of these aircrafts could be bought from United States. And if you buy from United States, the today's trade deficit will completely change. The pattern will change. Incidentally, the exports from United States to India in the last year have grown substantially because we imported oil and gas from United States. So I think the changing relationship, very important relationship. So we value this relationship, and we strongly feel that relationship should constantly grow for mutual benefit. And therefore, we look forward to very active participation, quite a strong engagement, and always we have seen any trade can result into dispute, all trades. And therefore, in fact, I was keep saying, and some of my friends like from Raju Deshpande from Times of India would know it better, why the trade-off word must have emerged. The trade-off word must have emerged because of trade, because there cannot be a trade-off without trade. So therefore, trade disputes are inevitable. So we are not worried about a trade dispute. What is important is how do you resolve the dispute. And the underlying strong sentiments, such a strong relationship gives us a reason that we'll be able to resolve any dispute, including trade dispute.
Thank you. Please restrict your question to G20. Not every question can be linked to G20. Yes, please. Amity.
So how serious is the concern that the e-commerce issue, like the developed countries could push it through the G20, and what is India's stand going to be, on negotiations, multilateral negotiation proposals for e-commerce?
See, as I told you, there are very specific sessions, and therefore, I can understand as a journalist, you want e-commerce so that automatically you'll get instant information. So we will make sure that such right of a journalist to receive instantaneous information from any part of the world will not be impacted adversely by any discussion, any decision anywhere in the world.
Let us not get into speculative questions. What will be discussed at a particular meeting. After the meeting is over, we will brief you. Ranjit ji and then Kalol.
Yeah, Mr. Prabhu, war-like situation is emerging in Persian Gulf area, and this will have a serious impact on India's economy and also on world economy. Don't you think this merits serious attention of the G20 Summit?
Ranjit ji, sir. See, Ranjit ji, let us restrict ourselves to G20.
Yeah, this is...
No, the agenda has already been spelled out by the Sherpa, and at this point of time, to kind of speculate what exactly the topics will be discussed as part of that agenda, it will be very difficult to guess. So I think I request for your understanding. Kalol?
Sir, you have talked about free trade, but we also have data localization from the Indian point of view. So how do you sort of reconcile this difference between free trade that you're going to argue for and data localization from India? And secondly, Japan is, I think, looking for this. There's a text in the G20 that will be coming up.
See, I'll just tell you, as my colleague already explained to you, this is a G20 issue, but I'll just tell you very broadly on this because my friend also wanted to ask, so I'll just tell you. See, we have certain views on some subjects related to e-commerce, related to data localization. Those issues are being debated, discussed in various forums within the country. As far as G20 is concerned, we'll ensure that G20 is a forum in which many issues can be discussed as the countries want, as the presidency decides, but we'll put forward our views as they are emanating from a very informed discussion within the country.
Thank you. I don't see any other hand.
Raju, you wanted to ask something?
Already asked. This concludes the special briefing on Prime Minister's visit to Osaka for the G20 Summit. Thank you, sir, very much for coming.
Just one addition. In addition to the G20 Summit, there would also be the BRICS meeting, the traditional informal meeting of the BRICS leaders. That is also scheduled to take place on 28th in the morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting many of you again. Thank you very much.